Hello and welcome to the much anticipated video where I talk you through the process of the family cohesion process in Italy. So if you have successfully received your visa and you have registered your residency, so you've submitted your Permesso di Soggiorno in Italy, you have received your Permesso di Soggiorno, so you've received your residency card. This is the process for how your family, so your spouse, your dependents, can actually come and join you in Italy through your visa and your residency. So grab a cup of tea or a coffee. This has been quite a process to navigate, and I saved up until now to do the video because I wanted to make sure that we'd successfully gone through the process before I gave you all of the information. So we have successfully submitted my husband's Permesso di Soggiorno application now. It's being processed at the Questura, so I'm going to give you all of the lowdown and all of the bits of paperwork and information that you're not going to find anywhere else online, because you don't know until you go through it. So let's dive in. So, if you don't know, I was one of the first digital nomad successful applicants for Italy from the UK. So, I submitted my visa application at the London consulate in July of 24, and I received my visa in September of 24. So, at that point, I submitted my Permesso di Soggiorno, so that is the residency paperwork for Italy. Check back through our other videos to find out all of how you do this process. What was unclear at the time is that for as much as the visa that I was granted automatically gave me the rights for my spouse, so my husband, and any dependent children or parents to come with me on that visa. Because of how new it was, we weren't sure about the actual process of my husband actually joining me. So this guides you through the process as I have done it. Whether anything has changed since then, I don't know whether I could have applied for David's, my husband's, Permesso at the same time that I did. This is the way that I have been told how to do it, and it's been successful for me. So why this is important is for those of us who are non-EU citizens now, thanks to Brexit, we can only ever stay in any of the Schengen countries on that entitlement, which is 90 out of 180 days. So you need to apply for residency in the country that you have the visa for, so in my case, Italy, in order that you can stay beyond that 90 days, right? It's your official document that says you are now resident of Italy, you're resident of an EU country, so therefore the Schengen shuffle no longer applies. Okay, so this video talks you through that process. First off, I needed to receive my actual Permesso di Soggiorno card before I could put the application in for my husband. It wasn't enough for me to just have the little slip of paper. So when you submit your Permesso di Soggiorno paperwork and you're waiting for your appointment at the Questura and for them to process it, you get given this little receipt slip, which is like your permission to overstay your Schengen, right? But it's not the official card. And I couldn't submit my husband's Permesso di Soggiorno application without the actual card. That card took me 10 months to get. So I submitted my Permesso di Soggiorno application in September, and I received that card in July of 25, I think it was. So for those 10 months, my husband David was on that Schengen shuffle. Okay, so he couldn't be out in Italy full time. we still have a home in the UK, so he could stay there. But that is a pretty significant point of all of this, right? Is that for those 10 months, he couldn't be in Italy full time. He was still bound by the Schengen. So that's something to just bear in mind with all of this process. So hopefully that gives you a basis as to why this is important, but also, you know, that's a pretty big consideration for particularly the digital nomad visa if the plan is to make the move and bring your whole family with you. Okay, so once we had my Permesso di Soggiorno card, we then went to the post office, asked for the postal kit, and then set about completing it. Now, it's quite similar to the Permesso di Soggiorno application that you will have done as the visa holder. There's some key differences. So in preparation for it, you will need your birth certificate and your marriage certificate apostilled and translated. So for those of you who don't know about what apostling is, I certainly didn't before this, it's where you will send it off to, like, each country will have its own department nationally who deals with this, and you send off the document and it gets this official kind of apostle kind of notification on the back, and it's all signed and stamped. You will need to have that done first. Our birth certificates from the UK, it was a really quick and easy process. I think we had them back within 2 days apostilled. We actually got married in Jamaica, so this one took a lot longer. As you can imagine, we had to send our marriage certificate to Jamaica, have it apostilled, and then organised to have it all returned. So this took us quite a few months to do this, but if everything's kind of UK based or it's all in the same country, that's really easy. So that needs to be apostilled. It then needs to be translated. So we know a local translator in Italy, and we sent her the marriage certificate and the birth certificates, and she officially translated them. It has to be an official translation. So in order to do that, they submit it to the courts, and it gets documented as an official translation. So that will have to be done. And that's a really good one to do when you're doing all of your visa paperwork. Get it all done in one go, right? So it's already done, because you don't want to be faffing around doing this when you're in Italy, right? You want to be doing this from your home country, really. That's really important. You will also need the every single page of the applicant. So in this case, my husband's passport. So every single page has to be copied. That has to be submitted alongside the relevant passport pages of mine, which is the main passport page and the visa. They also need to see financial evidence. So the basis of the Familiare Coesione, forget my pronunciation of that, this permesso that you're applying for is that it's on the visa holder's income. So in my case, I submitted my tax return from the UK, which was deemed enough. You will also need to include in your application something. It's basically like a certificate of assessing the habitation requirements of the property that you're in. So if you're renting or you own a property, you will need to produce a certificate like this that you'll get from your local comune. And this, I was concerned about having to get. I thought it was going to be quite a complex process. It was actually really easy. The comune where we are is literally 5 minutes down the road from where we live in Italy, and I went down to the comune, to the main office, told them that I need this certificate. They told me when the technical officer would be in. I went back down to see him. He literally took one look at his diary and was like, when do you want to do it? I was like, anytime. He was like, actually, I can do it now. And so he then travelled up to the property. They do a walk around inspection of the property. They check the room sizes, and then they produce the certificate that says how many people are legally allowed to live in that space. So in our case, it's perfectly okay for 3 people to live where we live. So this has to be issued by the Commune. As you can see, it's signed and stamped, and that has to go with the application. Okay, so if you don't include that, they're going to request it anyway. That's really important. That was cost us €35. There's the receipt for that, and it was done basically the same day. So I appreciate every Commune has slightly different timelines. We have a fantastic Commune who have been so helpful, and in addition to that, so that is the main paperwork. It's the copy of the passport, copy of details for my passport, evidence of your financial means to support the all of the main documents apostilled and translated, and then your kind of like certificate of habitation. So they're all of the main things. So that then gets submitted to the post office, and then the post office produces the appointment at the Questura, which is the local police station, where then your spouse or your dependents are going to go through the same process that you did, where they take your fingerprints, they'll double check any documents that they need, and then they will put it forward for the final processing for you to actually receive the card. So that, I think in the end, we had submitted David's Permesso at the end of September. He was actually given his appointment for the Questura for the beginning of November, which was way quicker than mine, and gave me a lot of confidence that either this is a much easier process for them to do, or they just kind of, there was no backlog really. So what's really important to make sure that you do before you go to the appointment is make sure that you log in to the police system, where it's going to tell you if they are requesting any extra documents. Okay, in our case, I didn't actually physically have the habitation certificate. I didn't have time to get that before I submitted the application, so I knew that was something that they needed, so I was already on that. They also wanted to see the original marriage certificate and then my original tax return for the UK. So those are the 3 documents that were listed as being required. It actually turned out we needed more than that. Okay, so my theory about this is that the main applications all get sent to like a head office in Rome, and so it's Rome that then go, well, these are the documents that are needed in order to process the application. By the time it gets to the local Questura, they can actually request to see more things. They might want to see more evidence. So always go with more than you think. Like in my case, whenever I've gone to the Questura, I've had originals and duplicates of every possible document I can think of that they might want to see, just because I don't want to be to and fro in to the Questura. It's for Como, it's a crazy busy place. It generally takes at least half a day to be seen, even when you've got an appointment. And yeah, it's not the most pleasant experience. So the least amount I can go there, the better. So it makes me want to be really prepared. When we got to the Questura for the appointment, they requested one extra piece document that I'd never seen listed online. I'd never seen listed as being required for this Permesso, and it hadn't been flagged up on that documents list. And it was a it's like a hospitality certificate. So I basically had to go to my local commune, fill out just a little application form that gave my details and David's details to certify that I am basically hosting a non-EU resident in the accommodation, and this had to be officially registered and then signed and stamped at the commune. Again, our commune is just fantastic. David's appointment at the Questora was Friday. It was Friday afternoon before we left Como, in which case our commune had already closed. I emailed them anyway and said, I require this document. Como have requested that we return on Monday in order to get this document submitted and the application processed. I'm just letting you know, is it okay if we pop in on Monday morning? And I actually got an email back from our commune at 7:40 a.m. on Monday saying, absolutely, come in at 9 o'clock. If you need it before then, knock the door, I'll be here. And they issued this certificate on the spot. We drove straight to Como, handed this in, and yeah, that was that. We were then driving out of Como. We were called back to Como. They called David's mobile, and it was to sign the. It's basically they call it an integration agreement. I didn't have to do this as part of my Permesso, but this is part of the Family Cohesion one, where it's an agreement between David and like the state, basically, around what they agree to provide and what he agrees to do. And as part of this, he has to attend Italian lessons. So you have to be at a minimum, or we're certainly working towards a minimum of like Italian language. Okay, so this hadn't been issued. We then, that was issued, so it was fine. We got our copy. We get all the way back home, and I think it was the next day we get another phone call from Como, and they were like, yeah, it didn't get signed. And so we then had to drive back down to Como, back to the Questora, just to sign it. And the immigration officer was just, she was so lovely. She's like, you know, quite a hard-faced woman. Like, I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of her. But she was so apologetic. She was like, you know, I'm really sorry for making you come back for like the third time. This was totally my mistake. I forgot to get the signatures. Please accept my apologies. And we were like, it's absolutely fine. So third time lucky at the Questora in Como. All of the paperwork has been submitted and accepted, and David's had all of his fingerprints taken, passport photos, and so we're literally just waiting on the card now. So let's fingers crossed for a couple of months for that. So hopefully that's given you the overall process. I understand it can be daunting. Take it one step at a time. I'm actually going to be putting together an online course about this whole process, from applying for the visas and navigating all the bureaucracy. So applying for your residency permit, as well as your Italian ID card, setting up your business, getting your health care sorted, getting your dog's passports, all of this stuff. I'm going to put it together as a step-by-step course next year, because when I was going through and completing this, there's kind of lots of general information out there, but when it comes to what do I need to put into this box and what is this asking me, I found it really difficult to get the information. So I want to put together a really clear and concise step-by-step program, and I'm just going to make it super accessible for people, just to be able to help you. And yeah, if I can, there's so much more information I want to give you beyond these videos, okay, because I can go so much more in depth. So please do let me know if that's something that you're interested in. I'll include the link in the description, And if you've got any questions, if any of you have gone through this process differently, or you in fact did include your spouse and your dependents on your initial Permesso di Soggiorno application, please do let me know, because I'm really curious to know if this is the only way or if there's another way. So until next time, I'll be back with more information about how to get your Italian ID card and how to get your pet passport, your EU pet passport. I'll be back with those videos very soon, and please do let me know if you've got any questions. Bye for now.